discover new knowledge, expand existing knowledge, solve practical problems through the development of new products, new apps, new services, new ways of thinking, etc. So, research is that activity that we engage in aimed at solving problems. And of course, it has to be systematic. And that is why we see that for academic writing, there is a template, there is a layout. You can't just go and start from literature review. You ask your students can't just go and start from literature review. You ask them, what's the background to your, problem or study, as the case may be. So it has to be systematic. It starts from the introduction, goes to reviewing literature to see what existing knowledge has to say about the identified research problem. And then you tell us your methodology. Is it quantitative? Is it qualitative? Is it a mixed method? You need to tell us that. Then your chapter 4, where you analyze the data you've collected, and 5, where you conclude and make recommendations. So basically, that is what research is. So what constitutes a research leader? You can see all the birds we have penguins here. They're all the same, right? But one is standing out. Because before you can lead, then you must be ready to take, the front row. And so, research leadership is being able to influence. You can see some of my words are in colors. Those are the keywords. Being able to influence one or more people on a research-related endeavor, while collectively exploring intellectual capacity for a common good. So what does it mean? As a research leader, influence is important. That means you should be able to put forth a problem that will catch the interest of others. Most times in a related field, okay? And you are not that you are the research leader. Does not mean that every other person in the team have to be passive followers. Because remember, the team is made up of intellectuals. As a matter of fact, there was a research I led, my value of research, and it seemed to be that in ranking in Canada, I was the lowest, I was the smallest, or the least. Okay, so I had professors in my team, I had medical practitioners in my team. So when I say I have the encapsulation of all the knowledge, when I had my teachers, some of those professors were my teachers. So what we are doing, the aim of a research leader is to be able to say, okay, this is a problem I have identified, and I'm also interested in leveraging your knowledge to solve this problem. Okay, so essentially, you explore their intellectual capacity for a common good. So there's no selfish interest. That you are the leader does not mean that you have all the knowledge. It does not connote that it has to be your own agenda. It has to be for a common good. All right, so what are the roles of a research leader? There is this caption by Jane Paul, which states that everybody is responsible for everybody, but I am responsible for everybody. That is the role of that leader. You're the one steering the affairs of the team. I think I can keep admitting, right? Okay. You're the one steering the affairs as the research leader. So it means that the onus is on you to be responsible for everybody While you're not just saying you do this, you do that, but you also see yourself as more responsible than every other person. And so, some of the roles is to drive innovation and discovery. There's this common saying, ideas rule the world. So, as that research leader, you must be that driving force for innovation and discovery. Even though you don't have all the intellectual capacity, but you are leveraging your team, and that role of the responsibility to drive innovation and capacity lies with the research leader. There are some research teams. You have the idea, you have identified the problem, and you have a team. The best way to fail is to depend on every other person in your team. While you might have assigned roles, you must systematically place yourself in each of those teams, because you are overseeing and you are also a participant in each of those things. So you are the driver. Okay? The next is building and leading effective research teams. We have some teams with a good number of members, and they're not achieving anything. But we also still have some teams that have 2-3 members, and they are achieving progress. That is what we call effectiveness. For my family research, when I started, I identified close to 20 stakeholders related to my study. But on the long run, I had to shed off those that were not effective. But before I shed you off, I must have given you a long rope, send you emails, make calls, because you see some people, it's not as if they are not interested, especially we're all academics, you understand what it is to teach, to supervise, to even administrative roles. For me, if I have the opportunity, I'm going to shed off every kind of administrative role from an academic. Once I have thought, once I have mapped, I should just pass my scores to the administrator, do collate, release results. Because some of this, even level advising, it should be, for me, it's an administrative role. But here we are, saddled with everything. So some people can manage it, some of us can manage it, some of us may not be able to manage it. So you need to be able to excuse those in your participants or members of your team that are not acting productively. There is another aspect to it. Our researchers, we don't just do researches for fun. That is where we publish from. Like I will always say, I'm a trained teacher, and the classroom is my laboratory. And so, in that case, as I'm teaching, I gather data and from which I could publish. And same thing when we have inaugurated research teams. There is this thing with promotion, I don't know in you, but the lead paper, the lead author usually carries the highest mark. Okay. Then sometimes in the team too, you have people that will say, please just put my name. And I believe that is the genesis of placing, so everybody just put my name. Some people say, do all the work, I will pay. That is the author's contribution, I'm sorry, but it happens. So, but for effectiveness, every member of the team must contribute meaningfully to the research. Because that is when you can, as a researcher, find value in what you do. And of course, it becomes a driving force. When you find value in what you do, it becomes a driving force for you. Even in the face of, stress, workload, etc. All right. Another role of the research leader is securing funding. I think perhaps I should have started with this point. I'm sorry, I'm a Yoruba, and we have an adage that says, the word you can get in really. I don't know how to see it in Hausa, but it means that the vehicle of religious endeavor is money. People want to build mosques, we need money now. Yes, people want to build churches, we need money. Even for the imam, we need imam too, we eat now. Pastor, we eat is money. So with research leadership, it is the responsibility of the research leader to attract funding. We have a lot of calls, funding opportunities. Some are for research, some are for fellowship, some are for, micro studies, macro studies, and they are all online. They are all online. So we need to be able to sit down, conceptualize an idea that can be sellable enough for your funders to fund the idea. I'm referring a lot to our Pali Fellowship here, because that is what brought us here. The fact that the call, we learned that I think about 284 applications were received. The call was made in 2020, late 2021, stroke early 2022. And 280 something participants or applicants turned in proposals for the funding. And about 28 of us were chosen out of 285 all over Africa. No, thank you. But what I'm trying to say is the fact that because those proposals went through peer review, it means that there was something in our proposals that caught the attention of the peer reviewer. So you must have that, your idea must be sellable. It must be sellable. And another beautiful thing is that amongst the 28 of us that scaled through across Africa, 5 of us were Nigerians. And see the percentage out of 28 across Africa, because we always excel wherever we go. That's the beautiful thing to our trainers. We are resilient. Anywhere we go, they must see us. Okay. So, and I say this with gratitude to God. So, securing funding requires an idea that is sellable. You must also look at the call and tailor fit your idea to the call. You must. So if, for example, my pilot research, I worked on developing a skill for assessing mental well-being. If you hear the word mental well-being, somebody working on health and mental well-being, you want to say maybe I'm a medical practitioner, but I am not. I'm an educational researcher by training and a psychometrician, but I have to think out of the box. How can my training fit into this call? No matter how beautiful my training is, if it does not fit into that call, it can't be chosen. So you have to sit down, conceptualize the idea, fit your idea into the call. And these are some of those ways. There's another session for grant writing. I don't want to delve into that, just mention it passing. But these are some of those things that will help you, that can help to sell your idea. And then lastly, leverage technology for effectiveness. As simple as reading your emails daily. As academics, we can't run away from it. Technology has come on us, whether we like it or not. And it has evolved from the first, second, third, and we are now in the fourth industrial revolution. The truth was that this side of the world, we were still struggling to find our balance, even on the third industrial revolution when the fourth came. But the beauty of the fourth industrial revolution is that it leverages technology. That big grammar. is just technology. Where you have Internet of Things, you have robotics, things like that. So as an academic, you should just make it a point of duty every morning. Of course, the first thing is to pray to our maker. After that, the next thing is to check my mail. Check some of your online connections, affiliations that you are, registered with and all that. Because that is where most of these calls are being displayed. But if you don't check, then you don't know. So please, our emails and other social platforms, we should be regular there to check for information and of course, leverage technology effectively. We'll get there later. So, what are the qualities of an effective research leader? It's not just about research leadership, but leading effectively. I'm happy our Vice Chancellor is here. He will be able to talk more about leadership. All right. However, some of the qualities are visionary thinking. We should be able to see beyond what everybody is seeing. Everybody might be seeing a problem, but as a visionary leader, you are able to conceptualize how through research a solution can be perfect for a for a problem. Okay? Then expertise and credibility. By the reason of our training, most of us are experts in our various fields. So it is a quality, and that is why I ask the question, after PhD, then what? Especially for people who contract out their write-ups, contract your proposal, is the bitter truth that is happening. Especially when you make corrections to students' work and they go and come back with the same thing. Sometimes it's as simple as dotting the T's and crossing the I's. But it's a problem because they don't own the work. So, after obtaining the almighty PhD, then what? So, if you're not careful, you will just go with. You will just have the paper. You won't have the expertise. And believe you me, what is worth doing at all? As our elders keep telling us, it's worth doing well. Okay, so that helps. That is another quality, expertise, and yes, and credibility. I should be able to defend my work wherever in the world that I go. Okay, another is mentorship and development. Another quality. Somebody said, a leader without followers is just doing what? Taking a stroll. It's just taking a stroll. As an effective research leader, you must have the quality to mentor others. And that is what some of us here are enjoying. Because even with our valid research, we had supervisors in our own institutions, and all of them, excuse me please, all of them find time for us to look at what they are doing. They also had mentors in University of Pretoria who, despite their tight schedules too, tried their best. In fact, one of the fellows held his workshop in Akwa Ibom, right? Emmanuel. And his mentor came in from South Africa, came into Nigeria. You can see that level of commitment. So, what we have received, we should also give back. So we should be ready to mentor others. That is another quality of an effective research leader. Another one is collaboration and team building. You know, some of these things we just here to remind ourselves, not that we don't know. But the role of collaboration in this era that most of us have found ourselves has become more important because some of the challenges, remember where we started from, research is about solving problems in our different fields. And some of these problems, they are multifaceted. They are not just standalones. They are rooted in, different disciplines. And so, being able to collaborate, being able to harness the intellectual capacity across the fields of knowledge, related fields of knowledge, is important for sustainability. Sustainability. We know that we have the SDGs, the whole of the 17 SDG goals. They are about sustainability in different aspects. Okay, so for sustainability, strategic planning and organization is another important factor with being an effective research leader. We must be able to strategize. Because, in fact, strategizing is important because of the kind of roles that we find ourselves. If we don't strategize, we may not be able to achieve. We want to strategize with the kind of teams that we have. We want to strategize with our methodology. We want to strategize in the way we collaborate. The world is beautifully a global village now. So it means that even if I'm here in Nigeria, we can still have a strategic plan that will help me to collaborate across physical boundaries. It's important. Then, ethical issues. Maintaining high level of ethical standards. That is also not strange, because at the PhD level, you also need to pass through ethical things to ensure that your work is ensuring or maintaining that standard. Then adaptability and resilience. An effective research leader must be adaptable and be ready to face whatever the challenges are and to work through those challenges to achieving his or her goal. During my research, at the present period of fund disbursement, there was really a challenge in my university. And if you are not resilient, you just say, please, just forget about this. I want to drop this. If I took my vice chancellor's intervention to get my funds, because the funds were paid into the university's account, and the university maintained the account with CBA. You see, it could be very stressful. You have sat down, you have conceptualized an idea, you have been able to conceptualize it in a way that it was sellable enough to scale through all other applications. And then the funders are ready to, they get to the point of releasing their money, but because they paid you in dollars, to get it out of CBA becomes an issue because of a lot of policies and all that. I start to be corrected. I think there should be a special arrangement for academics. For crying out loud, those that are laundering this money, nobody's after them. When you now need money for a good cause, you are not getting it, But I had to adapt my project. I needed to restructure a lot of things because the funds were actually delayed for 7 months. But my research was not stopped. That is resilience. Okay. And then decision making. At every point of the research endeavor, as a research leader, they earn us to make critical decisions on the next step to take, when to initiate the next stage, even maintaining your timeline. We have timelines, but timelines are usually not sacrosanct. They are just a guide saying, okay, between this period and this period, I should have achieved this, like that. So The research leader has the responsibility to make critical decisions per time for effectiveness. Then networking and advocacy is another important skill because sometimes when you go to our libraries or where our student projects are stored, sometimes they want to cry because they're just knowledge is just wasting away. So one thing that can help is when after you have done all the research, having the platform to effectively disseminate or effect the correct network to effectively disseminate your research findings. Because that is when your research or research outputs can make impact. So you need to have the right network, and of course, we need to leverage on advocacy for effectiveness. So let's quickly look at some of those challenges that could impact on effectiveness. The first is navigating the funding landscape, which I've said already. That is very important. No matter how valuable your idea is, no matter how visionary you are, then if you don't have, if there's no financial backing, it may not see the light of day. So you need to engage in competitive grant writing and funding, which is one of the sessions, like I said earlier, and of course, manage limited resources. During our family fellowship, a very active period, our prof, Professor Martin, who is the director, we keep saying that don't come and ask for more money. She doesn't want to hear. So whatever it is that you need, that you have said you need, you must manage it. You must work within, that space. Another thing is that there were room for changes, but any change that is more than 10%, you have to get approval to effect those changes. So resources are limited. That is why we must effectively manage our resources. Another one is balancing administrative and research duties. When promotion comes, everybody will ask you how long you will hate duty. Of course, it has its own grading, but research carries the largest weight for promotion. It's sad that we have to talk about it because that's how we grow as academics. We do some of these things, of course, based on which our promotion or on which our promotion depends. Okay, so we need to balance it. We just need to balance it. Maybe in the beginning of the year, you can tell yourself, I must have 3 publications this year, depending on your rank. As you move up, international publications become more relevant than the local ones. So we must be able to balance all that. Thirdly, of course, is the ethical and integrity issues. Sometimes compliance is not easy. For example, my study spanned across Nigeria and South Africa. So what it meant for me was that I had to obtain ethical clearance from Nigeria and also South Africa. It could be challenging, but being that it is a requirement, you just need to, overcome that challenges. And of course, another thing here, especially that I learned with Valley, is the way we engage participants. Professor Martin will tell you that you must not pay your participants. She was very, very strict with that. However, our cultural setup here is hard because if you are into community-related stuff, research, and you need to go and visit your maybe community leader, by our culture, you can't go there empty-handed. You need to get some things to be your forerunner. Sometimes you need to get the relevant people. We are Nigerians. The who know who factor is there, whether we like it or not. And sometimes to navigate this terrain, you need to be innovative. So for me, my research, I did not pay my participants. However, I reimbursed them for some activities that they do. So I'm not paying them. For example, if I have a professor on my team who is working with me and I pay him $50 to support his data, nobody will question me about that because he needs that data to do the work that he's doing. So we need to be innovative about it because whether we like it or not, our cultural realities are here with us and we need to walk through them. Okay, still on the challenges, we have diversity and inclusion. It's very important with effective research leadership. Like I said earlier, there's some problems that, in fact, not some, most of our problems, they are multifaceted. So that diversity, well, we don't have it as our strength here in Nigeria. We have that oneness, even though we are diverse. So even the research is also important that you leverage on that diversity to ensure adequate inclusion for effective problem solving and sustainability. Now, if I have vision, identify the research problem, I need to be able to translate that research problem into the minds of my team so that we can jointly own the problem. Can you imagine how I got to do my research within those 7 months that my funding was delayed? Can you imagine? If we didn't own that problem together, I'm telling you, a lot of them would have dropped off. Because how can I be using my data to work and you just keep saying, I'm sorry, the money is in my university account, it's sitting there, maybe even under AC. But being able to own that problem together will help even delivering results. And of course, it helps to address biases and barriers. Then, another challenge is the rapid technological changes that are happening around us. Like I said earlier, we're in the fourth industrial revolution, and right now we need to leapfrog as a country. We need to leapfrog because they're still battling with second and third industrial revolution, and then the fourth is here. Believe me, the fifth industrial revolution is in the corner already. It's there. It's just that we are not seeing it yet. So, for us to be able to effectively maneuver through these technological changes, we need to keep in touch and keep leapfrogging in terms of technological advancement. When I came into this hall, I said, wow, this is the state of art facility. I mean, it's not just an understatement. And so we need to keep doing that because, as a matter of fact, that is how we can even make our work better and more effective. Then we need to integrate new tools, new methodologies into our researches. Lastly, we have collaboration again and transdisciplinarity. I must quickly say that I first heard about transdisciplinarity in Future Africa. Opened my eyes. Transdisciplinary research, we are used to interdisciplinary, multidisciplinary, now to transdisciplinary. So transdisciplinary research is on the higher scale of research where diverse knowledge comes together to solve a problem. There was this clip that was played in during one of the workshops we had there, where we all knew the COVID-19, how it came on us all unexpectedly, and we're trying to solve the problem. Vaccines came up. And when the vaccines came, there were a lot of myths surrounding the vaccines. You see a lot of, that is her work. A lot of stories. In fact, you see some videos, because they took the vaccine, when you put magnet, the magnet is still. It was scary for everybody. But funny enough, we've forgotten that these are vaccines that we all take our children to go and take. You know, when you give birth, you take, do BCG, you do all those things, you know. And because the child does not have a choice, the child takes it. So, because of those myths, people were not vaccinating. But the research group, who were the collection of medical practitioners, did a video show, a road show, to disseminate the correct information about vaccination. And people started vaccinating. You don't think, how can a medical doctor become an artist? Like I will keep saying, research is about what? Solving problems. And of course, in a systematic manner. So, we have seen some of the challenges. We want to see some strategies for overcoming these challenges. We say money is important, but when we have the money, we need to manage the resources effectively. Time is another factor, being able to manage our time. Sometimes I just see my week starts and it's ending. And here am I, it's Friday. And I'm wondering, how did I go through? The week just passed. That's because as academics, we are saddled with a lot of responsibility. But the onus is still on us to manage our time by prioritizing and delegation. But delegation should not be seen, I should not be talking about delegation because I'm very proud of delegating. And that's because I'm a perfectionist and I feel like if I am not there, it can't be what I want it to be. You know what? If we manage time effectively, we need to learn to delegate. Then we need to also foster ethical research practices. When you get your ethical protocols correctly, it helps effective delivery. Some fellows spent 3 months, 4 months before they got ethical clearances. But by the standard, you should not start your research. And maybe the best you can do is literature review. You must get that ethical clearance. Okay, for that. Then embracing technological advancement is also important. I said it helps to make our work easy. And lastly, promoting collaboration in terms of network building and partnership while encouraging open communication and shared goals. Now, a case study. My research is the case study I want to use here. And my final research was based on, it's aimed at designing a mental well-being skill for university undergraduates. A lot of times, when you hear mental health, what comes to mind is probably that man on the street who is in rags. But unfortunately, it's a no. Some of us are properly dressed. In fact, some of us are highly placed, but battle with mental health issues. It has to do about how well you're managing your health. It has to do about your effectiveness at work. It has to do about your social interactions. There are some professors, you can't go close to them. You don't even go close to them. You just feel they are so high. In fact, I said this with all due respect. just to drive home my point on social interaction. No matter how high you are, you must be sociable. I met the VC this morning when we were exchanging pleasantries, and I told him, please, can I have a shot with you? And he said, why not? It's not everybody that will grant such a request. Okay. And then productivity at work, our belief systems. Our belief systems also add to our mental health. And when it comes to belief system, it's not just about my outward facade, but it's about the choices I make when it is only myself that can judge myself. The difference between the good and the bad. That's the belief system. You see some people talk money wherever. There was a video. The money was rotting about 100 bags of naira. If the person is mentally sound, I mean, a mentally sound person will not do that. When there's somebody next to you that don't even know what to eat for dinner, somebody, especially in these hard times, some people go to bed empty stomach. And you have the guts because you cannot laundry it out of the country. You now pack it in the bags. You can say, when we talk about mental health, it's not just about that man in rags. So we need to ensure that that brings the importance of my study. Now, the first step, because I was the research leader in this project, and the first step was to make contacts. And I told you about collaboration. It is important. I had to identify relevant stakeholders and make contacts with them. I was also working across boundaries. So I leveraged on my emails, WhatsApp to aid our communication in making those contacts. Then after making contacts, those that consented to be part of the study, in fact, there was a time I contacted a prof in my university. He's in the behavioral sciences. And somebody gave me his contact, actually. I just went to our platform and placed it there. So he gave me a list of people who he knew were experts in the field. And when I contacted him, he said, do I know who he is? How dare me invite him to be part of my study? I had to just say, Prof, sorry. That was the end of it. But those who consented, they had to come together, exchange knowledge, exchange ideas, in deploying the project. It is beyond just exchanging ideas. My goal was to ensure that this vision is not just only me running. We are running together as a team. We did that by deploying one-on-one interview sessions, and we also had a focus group discussion that helped to shape the direction of the research. So when we are going on the way, as we deploy the research, if somebody asks that, but why are we doing it like this? I say, you remember, Professor Chiboy was the one who suggested this approach. And everybody said, yes. A collective goal. Then, as the research leader, I had to coordinate all the activities. I had about, 5 teams, and I was in all the teams. We wrote the items together, we validated it together, the scale that was developed, validated it together, we pilot tested. Of course, I was in charge of the analysis, that's my specialty, the analysis for all the data that we collected. When I ran it through the quality assurance team, I was also part of the team. So as the research leader, we are coordinating all the activities, and yet I was part of the activities. Then of course, assigning and monitoring rules. It's just more than assigning rules. You need to also be there to monitor. And one way you can do that is being part of that team. So, like they always say, uneasy lies the head that wears the crown. When you publish from your research and you put yourself as principal investigator, it's not just for the writing. It is based on work that has been done. Then you need to share resources. This can be also done by leveraging technology. For example, some of the technological appliances that are leveraged for my study, we have Dodo. Dodo is used to assign, to schedule interviews. You can imagine how tough it would be if I would be the one to schedule everyone for their one-on-one interview session. So just use Dodo, send the link. Once one person has picked that date, nobody can pick it again. Okay, so it helps for effective scheduling. Then, Discrete and Otter AI, our interviews. Okay, before that, I used Microsoft Teams to facilitate the interview sessions. Then you use Discrete and Otter AI for transcribing. So we don't need to sit down with biro and paper to be transcribing our interviews. We have online applications. The good news is that some of them are totally free, some of them are partially free. Now, those that are partially free, sometimes you get to use them maybe for the first 1 month for free, for the first week, for the first 2 weeks. If you plan your time effectively, you can leverage on the free window, to be able to use some of these applications. Then I've spoken about the Gmail. When writing, and use EndNote, Turnitin. It helps for academic writing. And of course, Atlas TI is an application for qualitative data analysis. We also conversant with SPSS, and we also have NVivo. We have a lot of them that can leverage, save time. It helps for effectiveness. And you might be writing a manuscript with your collaborators who are not with you, but you can use the Google Forms. It's free. Once you have a Gmail, you have access to all the marketplace applications, whereby as you are writing that manuscript, you remember that I said for effective leadership, everybody must be involved. It's not just about add my name. It's not just about do the work, I will pay the money. It's about everybody contributing meaningfully to the research. And so, even geographical divisions is not a barrier, because I can, on my Google workspace, I will be writing, another person will be writing. I will be seeing what the person is writing per time. Real time. He will also be seeing, or she will also be seeing what I'm writing, so we can work effectively. So there are some of those resources. And then we had the virtual research environment. That was a space created by FAMI to ensure, to facilitate resource sharing. And then, having done all that needs to be done, as the research leader, you need to merge all your findings, put it into something that can be, publishable for effective dissemination. If you have a QR code, you can scan this. It takes you to the skill that was designed. If you don't have a QR code, you can also go to https :/t.ly is there, like that, to access the skill. Let me also quickly say that this skill is also available for universities that are interested in adopting the skill for use, for their students. So I'm open to that request. I'll do a tailor-fit version of the skill that students of the Ahmadu University can leverage. This project was funded by the Carnegie Corporation of New York, and administered by FALIV, and of course, the University of Illinois also gave me the opportunity to be part of it. Now, these are some of the designed skill. I told you about collaboration. These were some of those that I had on my team across Nigeria and South Africa. And we were able to achieve this because we collaborated effectively. I was involved at all the stages, from item writing to item banking to quality assurance, to bring the skill to what we have Now, it would be an aberration not to acknowledge everybody that was on my team. It was a great team I had to work with. Okay, as we make conclusions, research leadership, we can see, is a complexity. It's work. Uneasy lies the head. That weighs the crown. It's work. However, it's rewarding. It's a rewarding endeavor that requires a blend of strategic vision, ethical stewardship, collaborative spirit, and innovative mindset. By embedding these principles, research leaders not only drive scientific discovery, but also contribute to the advancement of society as a whole. And lastly, the future of research depends on leaders who are committed to excellence, integrity, and continuous pursuit of knowledge. Here's a bibliography showing a list of some of the sources that I consulted for this presentation. Thank you for listening.
Ladies and gentlemen, another round of applause for our distinguished research leader. Before we take comments, observation, I think the convener, Dr. Hawa, has some information for the audience. Dr. Hawa. I can lend you some. How many inches do you need?
Thank you very much for this inspiring lecture, as you can see. Philip has made a wise choice. And believe me, when you call all the fellows, that is what you will hear. We have 3 of them. I'm very fortunate to have them here. In Nigeria, we are 4. Am I correct? We are 5. So Emmanuel is not here. I am one of them from the north, and I'm proud to say I'm the only lady, Muslim lady, and from the north. So we have Jumoke from the University of Ilorin. Then we have Tony, she's over there from Bayelsa, and then we have Dr. Onyekachi from Lagos. And we have Emmanuel, who is not here. He has done his workshop in Port Harcourt. So out of those 26 African countries, it is only Nigeria that has 5 fellows. You can see that Nigerians are very intelligent. So, and all the Nigerians are from different disciplines. Jumoke here is from education, and you can see that she has gone digital. She's creating a network for COVID and so on. And that's where we have a collaboration, because I'm also dealing with COVID, but my own is the practical aspect. It's more theoretical, and her own is the digital aspect. We have Tonya here from geography, and she's dealing with women's land rights and agricultural development in Bayelsa State. And we have Dr. Onyekachi, who is dealing with climate change and land politics in Nigerian conflicts. And what do you call it? I think, I can't remember, I can't see you are writing. So I know that he's dealing with peace and conflict resolution about land. Yes, and she's dealing with women and agriculture, because at the time I have to come in as a communicationist. So you can see that is what we mean by transdisciplinary researches. I am from the Department of English and Literary Studies, yet I am dealing with COVID-19 misinformation and pseudoscience in northern Nigeria. So I call myself a social scientist, and that is why I have my research person from the Department of Microbiology. He's here. From University of Maiduguri, Dr. Adam Mustafa is the HOD Microbiology Department. Am I correct? So he's one of my research assistants. Then I have Dr. Kabir Haruna from Bello University, who is from the Department of History. He's also one of my research collaborators. And Dr. Amin Ali from Sociology. Can you see the transdisciplinary collaboration? All of them, I'm happy they are here. And then I have my personal research assistant in terms of data collection, Dr. Zaria. But we need to pay the both of them because we have budgeted for that. So if we are dealing with international research, as she has said, you have to build the resilience. I remember it is only I and Juwege that fought for the change of developer because of that CVN. Yes, my VC has to write, and that is why Prof. Button accepted our own. It's not because of collaboration. She will say that. Why? Because Onyeka is from what do you call it, private university. Joya is from state university. I am from federal university. She's from the federal university. So our own bank, it has to go through CBN. And CBN will collect the dollar and it will change the dollar for you at the official rate. And before that money can come to you, I believe me, my VC has sent the poster about 10 times to what you call it, to Abuja. So that is why at the end of the day, I and Timoke have to change our donor bank. So I moved to Aroa House, and I know what she did because she's very intelligent. But that's about resilience. So you have to build that resilience if you are dealing with international research. Because believe me, I remember there's a time that she's going with her child. And then Professor Button said they don't have to accommodate a child. I don't know how she did it. But at the end of the day, she went to Pretoria with that child of hers. So you need to build that resilience. And you also need to be very digital. Because if you're not digital, you're not going anywhere. That visibility will not be there. Even the code itself is what? It's online. So you have to search. Sometimes you don't need to sit down. You are just lucky that we have this grand group now, that we posted everything, the course will be there. During my time, I had to search myself, and that's why I find this planning program. So what we did that, we applied and we are lucky, our applications were collected. So we are about to round up the research now. We are into our 2 years. This is part of dissemination. Science communication, this workshop, and believe me, apart from the funding, the dollars, there's also the opportunity of international networking. All of us are entitled to two conferences international and then one workshop. I went to University of Texas with my own fund, and then I also I attended local one, the other one where I went to Eastern. Then I have this workshop, it's all from the funding. So the university will give you a fund to do the workshop because it's like 1 to tell 10 and 10 to tell others. So we learn the leadership and we apply it here. I think the panel is very, very effective. So we need the outcome. By 12:30, you will listen to the outcome of my research. I don't want to say anything about it. All I know is that there's science communication, which involves theater for development, where people will enlighten the public, because one of the reasons for the research, that transdisciplinary research, that is when you say trans, you are moving across boundaries. So I am from the English department and I'm moving into sciences. She's from education, she's moving into psychology and so on and so forth. And he is from the, what do you call it? He's into conflict, he's into land politics and so on and so on. She's from the geography, she's into agriculture and so on. So this is where we have the crossing of the disciplines. And for us to solve the societal problem. So the research, as she has said, is all about solving the societal problems. But I want to emphasize that we need to be digital. We need to be digital. First of all, you need to have all those handles, reasonable ones, LinkedIn. Am I correct? Because I remember, it was in LinkedIn that I was just nominated as a researcher of that was 1 week. So I don't know how they got to know me, but because of that LinkedIn, so the visibility will be there. So make sure you are visible. Make sure you have all those handles so that when they Google your name, they will see you. Because the first thing they will do when you apply is to look at your work. So they will Google your name. If you are not online, they will just forget about your application. They'll say, this one is not even digital. In fact, if you are not digital, you cannot even complete or what do you call it, be successful in the application. But she has said all. I don't need to say anything. This is the result of networking, because that is what we learned in the valley, the networking. I remember that during our first visit in the University of Pretoria, I was the first person to get the visa to arrive. The three of them did not arrive on time, so they asked me, "You are from the north? Are you a relative of Aisha Buhari?" I told them, "Yes, don't you see that? Didn't you see that we look alike?" They said, "Why did you get the visa while your counterpart or colleagues from the south and the east you don't get their own?" They don't know that it's because of the right proximity. Proximity. I am closer to Abuja than they are. When our visa comes out, they don't like Nigerians. So it takes the intervention of the Professor Newton, the pilot program, to get us that 2-year visa application, which lasts. And because it has lapsed now, we don't want to go through a struggle. So we are now going to Kenya to do our final, workshop. Because our own visa has, has expired. And we don't want to go to the trouble of looking for another visa. And because Nigerians are so many there, they can't miss us, they can't afford to miss us. So they said that we are going to do the next workshop, but if I remember well, so we are going to Kenya to do the final workshop. And you can see they have invested their money, and the money is well invested. Tuboke is one of them. Tonya is going to speak to you about leadership. I can't remember her own topic. Dr. Yemachi will speak to us about disciplinarity. So I'm not going to say much. I will now give the MC for open questions, discussions, and observations. I'm sure you have many. So thank you very much, Jumoke, for the wonderful lecture.
Thank you very much, Dr. We now open the floor for questions, contribution, and observation. Yes. Any contribution, any question, comments? Yes, sir.
Thank you so much, Dubuke, for this elaborate but very insightful presentation. Like I used to say, I always listen to steal from others, and then 3 minutes, assess it, and then adapt it, and then clone it, and it becomes mine. Maybe in the next workshop, you will see me making the presentation. I think originally it was mine, but I would have stolen it from you. Thank you so much. While you're talking, one of the things that became very obvious is the issue of networking. Myself and Professor Tedim here will be discussing. And I think it will reflect on all the subsequent presentations that will come. Why are we doing the research of all these researches in the country? What do we want to achieve? I love the point you say we want to solve problems. Now, which problem? Nigerian problem. Is there anywhere or any platform which data are collected, harmonized, put together, and where would we say this is where Nigeria is in solving A, B, C, or D problem, or achieving A, B, C, D result? Being more specific, sustainable development goals. I'm sorry I'm coming because that's where I'm coming from. Now, to what extent are your contribution or your investment contributing to our achieving one of the goals? Or do you think we'll need to come up with a way from this interaction of network to see that your data is not just hanging in the university shelves, but it will also be made full in that context?
Thank you, sir. Your question is a serious one because data is everything and numbers speak volumes. However, I think in this side of the world, we're not doing too well with data storage. And one of the reasons for me, I stand to be corrected, is the fact that we are so much into paper pencil. So much into paper pencil that can be lost, can be flooded, it can be burnt. And that is why pushing for technology levers is important. Because just my email, any data I store in my email is there for life. I can go there and search. That is what databases are for. I must recognize that our Central Bank of Nigeria, they are doing well. Those in the management sciences will be able to allude to this, the fact that they don't work with primary data. Those in finance and all that. My husband is in finance, so that's why I know that. So, because your primary data is not credible enough, okay, but how can we now spread this to other fields of knowledge? One, we need personal responsibility. Like I said, as a research leader, is about seeing everybody like it is your own responsibility to be everybody. We have some platforms. We have Open Science Framework, OSF. I would share the link. You can store your data there. Create it into a link that others can tap from. And it's open source. So you don't need to pay a dime. You know, we can't just oversay this. We need to keep leveraging technology. They are all there for our use. So, and then we need to get to a level where, on a national level, the nation is. I know World Bank also have statistics for different countries, but isn't it an irony that World Bank will be collecting data for us? Me. For me, it's an irony. We should be able to collect our data ourselves, store it. But there's some of those information that all they collect, you need permission to access. But if you own your database, then I also would like to say the fact that sometimes the way they even portray our data may not really reflect what we are going through. And so you see some people, you have relatives abroad who call you, they say, Boko Haram has not carried you away. And you are in your house, eating masa, in peace. But the data that they collect, what is projecting, is what they are reacting to. That's why I'm saying that sometimes when we collect our data ourselves, we portray. I'm sorry, my husband is a mentor of information. He will say that some of these vices that we have in Nigeria, we have worse in developed countries. But what they project to us is the good side that we are all seeing. So meaning that it's our responsibility to portray ourselves to the world the way we want them to see us. So back to the question directly, we have open source applications that can help to store data and retrieve them at will. In fact, there was a paper I wrote. I used that platform. The data, there's some publishing outlets. They will ask for your data as the requirement for publishing internationally. So you need to give them that access thing where they can go and verify the data you are reporting in your work.
Thank you very much. Yes, any other comment, persons? Oh, sorry, Rob.
Thank you very much. And just a follow-up to the question asked and her response. I think that there is a need to look at the matter at a deeper level. And my feeling is that there are institutional issues here that need to be taken into consideration. I've signed recommendation letters for those applications. And I've looked at quite a number of these applications, like the platform, the advertisements, and so on and so forth, including valid, not valid. And it seems to me, as I said, there is the need to look at the relationship between individual researchers, the institutions they are in, and the funding organizations they relate with. Because one of the things you find in most of these advertisements, when you come to this level of we call dissemination, is the need to produce documents that influence policy formulation. And this is where you deal with the politics of research and research funding, national and international. How much do our institutions have the capacity to control what they have contributed in producing? For example, why wouldn't ABU have access to your research? Integrate your research findings into its own data bank, have its own think tank control, and let input some of these things. And relate with both governments and donor agencies globally to see the importance of the research and so on and so on. Because fundamentally what we can agree is to collect data for most of these big international organizations and companies. They pick this data, you do very good work, you come and say, well, one of the problems of that whole university, education is trauma. Trauma. So you can use this data. You can come and these people in Abuja will reach an agreement with them, come out with policy and so on and so forth. In other words, we are part of the structure within which our own predicaments are developed. And we don't seem to have the institutional capacity to make use of opportunities. And I think one of the things I just want to suggest, sorry, take long, the suggestions I will make is that maybe at the end of this workshop, if you call it, we should have some recommendations on the need to develop the institutional framework for donor agencies, affiliate institutions, individual researchers to make use of what is discovered out of this funding more effectively, so that we don't go and give people our things on how to do it. What is it called? What is this disease? COVID. All right? And then they will go and develop the policy in the US, come with this from the US. Meanwhile, the insight, the actual data collected by us here, and we don't know anything about it. There is a gap in this matter, madam. Big gap. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Okay, thank you. I must say that the presentation itself was quite good and reaching. And from what Animo was saying, yes, there is already some kind of absences, strong connections between the researches that are funded and executed by us as Nigerian academics. So it's really a big challenge for us. We'll look forward to whatever recommendation that will come from these discussions. And in my little capacity as the Director of University Advancement, we will ensure that these are taken at the highest level of the university. And whatever action that is required will take place. Tenimu also, for your information, has just been nominated to serve on the National Research Fund of the country. And the billions that they are going to be dispersing, it's very important. And I'm sure there are about 4 or 5 of them from ABU on that committee. And when we have had complaints, when there's reason to complain in the past about the numbers that get those funds, is skewed naturally in favor of STEM. So there will have to be a lot of advocacy to get them to, to accommodate the arts, the humanities, social sciences, and education. So I believe that they will champion those courses along with other people. And I think on our part also, we need to sensitize the public by also strengthening their opposition to this. So fundamentally, your address to this workshop just reminds us about some key things. One, that many of us, we take our PhD studies very seriously because it's the foundation, as she kept emphasizing. Without that PhD, you are not in competition. So all of us must pay attention to ensure that we complete. As she also said, the PhD is just not a piece of paper that you acquire. Ultimately, you go and you put it on the wall or somewhere, but it's the skill and the competence that you deploy, to attract this grant, to participate in so many things. So I think it's, because I believe the workshop is intended to strengthen the skills and capacities of people who are attending here. And I think that focusing on research post-PhD is vital. Those of us who are still doing the PhD, please do whatever it is possible. Make sure that you complete it so that you really become more competitive. Because all the publications, all the promotions we're talking about, all the research leadership is only feasible, when you're sufficiently, yes, exactly. So I think that we're going to have some exciting and good deliberations here. And we pray that people will remain throughout this. Fortunately, I think they are provided some refreshment as well. So I think there will be a good reason. Yes. So thank you very much. Sorry, I wanted to say that after her address, your own role, what is your role? Throughout the program.
Yes.
You went and took the stage, MC. I didn't know what exactly.
I forgot to introduce my project supervisor. The project supervisor. So all the projects are like that, the writing, he supervised the project. And believe me, he has engaged in so many Zoom meetings with the stakeholders at the University of Victoria. So I would like to use this opportunity to say thank you, sir, for supervising the Parliament project. This is my supervisor.
Thank you very much, Professor Sadi. Yes, any other community there?
So quickly, out of curiosity, the earlier question that was posed was about how the research findings can facilitate the achievement of some of the SDGs, and that has not been responded to. So just a reminder.
All right, thank you. As a matter of fact, one of the requirements when we were applying, was that we must identify an SDG goal that our research is addressing. For example, for me, it was SDG 3, which is on health and well-being. So it means that, and that is another reminder of the presentation where I said that your research, no matter how innovative it is, must be in line with the call. Because in the first place, all is not in line, they don't need to look at it. It goes by the side. Because that's faced and failed the very first litmus test. Okay. So my research addresses SDG goal 3. And everything we're doing for my research is to ensure that people are living healthy lives, and have a stable mental well-being. I didn't remember to mention that you say grant writing means for looking for grants. I'm telling you, you must just not be tired. Because sometimes you apply 10 times, and you might get no 9 times. And just probably the 10th time is when you get a yes. It's beautiful to say that 25 of us were picked out of 200 and over 200, close to 300 applications. But I've not told you how many times I got a no before I got that yes. So it means that you also need to be resilient, even through the grant with fund application process. I just think I should chip this in so that when you start applying after getting the PhD, you're getting you just must not be discouraged. I'll pass it to you. Is somebody?
Thank you so much. Some concept about the concept or the term transnarrative. And I know most of the time we're not just writing for promotion, we're writing to share our data with the locals in our country and people outside our country for more understanding. But half the time, as an academic or as an academician, you are advised or encouraged to write in a certain area. For example, if I'm interested in development communication and you have the time, you're told, oh, write in this area, because when it comes to promotion, other areas will text that. So how then, and then you will not be there when panels meet to say, oh, I've written about feminism, I've written about COVID, I've written about conflict, I've written about women's health, malnutrition. You will not be there. But you are in all of these areas. How then do you drive the point home about transdisciplinarity and the concerns for development? What do we do as academics in all these areas we are researching and then bring them home to convince people that we're interested in this area that is still part of what we do?
Thank you. You raised your hands and you are the one taking transdisciplinary session. So maybe I should give you the right to answer and you can also move.
Thank you very much. Before I respond to the issue she raised, first I want to say that Prof. Bello, that's why I was raising my hand. I think Prof. Denim raised an important issue on data and data banks and the need for us to have institutional framework. And then thanks to the Director of Advancement, Professor Sani, who has assured us that he's going to take that up. But for graduate students that are here, there are some other organizations that have, I'm sure IFRA is here. There is a particular database for IFRA, and then they have certain data, and then some other institutions apart from the CBN that houses data. So, for instance, like the speaker rightly said, the worry is that some of these institutions that keep this data are foreign-based institutions or external institutions. And that will, to an extent, amount to an extent, a national security threat. So we will be looking at that and say, how is it that there were no control? Very important issue that Professor raised there. How is it that there are no controls? And then some of these issues are in that space. But we don't get to manage this information as it should be. So that is why these other things are very vital. But many of them are available, like I said. If you want to look at debt rates in Nigeria, you have that in IFRA, in on IFRA Watch. They are there. So on transdisciplinarity, it is actually the idea to look at several knowledge sources. And then you are coming from the perspective of feminism or gender studies. And the essence of transdisciplinarity is not to say that you have all the competencies. It's not that you have all the competencies, but it's for you to leverage, to utilize people who have those competencies. If you have, for instance, the example she gave about doctors doing a road show for COVID-19, they may not all be medical doctors. There will be people in theater arts, there will be people in music who came up and then teamed together, and their ideas were harvested. Some of them may not be academics. I give you one scenario. I met a man in Leiden, and then he said he has never been to school, but he could tell how many bees are in a beehive. And then when they make sound, he could actually interpret what the bees need at that time. So it is a scientist. He's a scientist, and he knows this particular kind of science is needed for us to solve these complex problems that we are having. So it is not just for you having diverse competencies, but it's your ability to leverage on diverse competencies that are available within our society and then solve human problems. I don't know if that addresses your question.
Yeah, I think.
Yes.
Okay, so just
We will take one more question or comment, then the leadership will write. Because of the next item of the theater development and communication.
okay. So just quickly, for example, I said I work on mental health, but I'm not a specialist, I'm not a medical specialist. But designing a scale to assess that mental health, designing that scale as a psychometrician is my role that I bring to the table. So at the interview panel or promotions panel, once they see that I'm a measurement and assessment expert, once they see that, they know that it's mine, still in my.
Any last comment or question? So, in the absence of none, before we proceed to the next item, which is theater for development communications performance. Really, we are expecting them. We would like to recognize a participant in the name of Ifeoma Davis, who has just arrived from Lake City University, Ibadan. Will you please recognize her presence? Thank you very much. The next item is the theater performance for development communication. If they are ready, they should please come forward.
but madam, that one no mean say make you abuse antibiotics like that. Oya make I ask you. Now who tell you say na so they suppose dey take antibiotics?
I don dey take this drug 5 for some week now.
Ah.
I don take 2, e no work for me. I don take 3, but this thing dey pain me. Now I go say make I take 5. As I take the 5, e come give me energy. Now wetin make I dey take am 5 every day that.
Madam, you no know say na one practice you dey do like that. This one you dey do now, na antibiotics sabi you. Na this kind thing, na im make Dr. Hawa Mohammed come up with this concept wey dey call communicabila.
Doctor, no vex o. Abeg, wetin be? I no good people.
Communicabila, madam.
Wetin be that, abeg?
Thank you very much. This communicabila na one concept wey Dr. Hawa Mohammed discover for the research she dey do. And for this concept, she intend to enhance health and well-being by disseminating truthful information and also counter challenges posed by harmful medications, just like the way you do now. You know, stop there. She also intends to save people from impending dangers due to dangerous belief in fake news wey yapa for everywhere, myths and even conspiracy theories, and also to get people vaccinated against hepatitis and other dangerous illnesses.
I no know.
Yes, so now why you no suppose dey take this antibiotics like that? But since I stop saying you know, that one problem no dey. I go advise you say make you come hospital. You see in the next 30 minutes, I go dey hospital. You fit come hospital, and there we go diagnose you. We go know wetin dey worry you. From there, we fit give you the right prescription to take. Not see some way you do. You go kill yourself.
Okay, doctor. Make I just quickly package it.
Thank
you for this information, doctor. Thank you. Don't take your hospital back. I don't together for you.
Thank you, madam.
Thank you.
You know, say, thank you. Thank you, madam. I go come back, Thank you, she go here.
I don't hear of this COVID Madam, no vex, but where you hear this one from? If you're online, if you enter Facebook, you go see am. WhatsApp, you go see am. Twitter, all the plenty dey there. Now I dey I wan go do my own o. But my pikin talk say more things wey dey social media na fake news. Truly, social media has spread the excessive intake of antibiotics at this time of COVID-19. Antibiotic misuse increased among healthy individuals when some of them started taking antibiotics without any symptoms because they do not know what to expect. Now go and me, I don't say I no go do that antibiotics matter. I go do this one.
This na sauce wey dem let me give the good two sauce na we don already know.
Why you don't know?
Why you go dey talk for me? I make you myself kata.
Like them was man. And then do social distance. You don't go give nothing.
I see your son.
Thank you.
Oh, you know the close nose. I dey smell.
Wannan maganin da muke kira sa maganin shakawar mare yana maganin kowane illa da ka sani a cikinka. Ina mai ciwon baya, ina mai ciwon kai, ina mai ciwon hakori, yau ga maganin shakawar mare don. Ina mai ciwon ido, ina mai tari, ina mai mura, yau ga maganin shakawar mare. Jama'a wannan maganin 200 ne, amma za a ba ka 300. Idan kana da yaro mai fitsarin kwance kana ci da dare yana turawa yana bada tsuru yau da magani ina mai tsawo duk da mun zo alhaji 200 ne amma za mu baka 300 kana son guda ɗaya? If I do it, I get them for back pain, I get them for gonorrhea, syphilis, orodagus airways, and even headaches, stomach pain. This medicine are for you. We dey call this medicine drink and feel relief. If I drink this medicine, I go feel relief. If I do a piece for bed, I know yes, sleep. If you get pikin, even small children want to drink am. Pregnant children want to drink am. This medicine, drink and feel relief. Just do 200. I will give am for you 3,500. Madam, I want am for one. I give am for 200. Drink and feel relief. Chat the one with the man that you go. Get a man that you go in there. The same. Hey, I'm going to customer. I get I did so many. I don't have a problem. I did one like Dr. Mali. Shut up.
Now take this question. If you ask a girl for fire, see, people talk about everybody wants to take drugs. Make you go hospital go check himself before you take any drugs.
Madam, I just want to wait. See, I don't know you. I mean, I don't know why the chat. I just am about to. I feel like anything for inside the body. I go digital and not before I go do maganin kowa yana maganin ciwon ciki yana maganin da kumburin ciki sha ta warware alhaji a fi bayan for children to sha ta warware
tomato. You go give me 1,000 naira. 1,000. Okay, just add pepper and onions, 500. Join everything together here. Okay. Even though you don't carry yourself, go to hospital, wait a minute. Or you don't carry leg, you can't go get this, go to this. This and that cough, when you say it's small, when you know even small, you don't say you go pick your arm without stress. Let I tell you out. I don't know why old women they no day updated at all. Oh, we make I show you something, madam. This guy can carry this phone now. As I enter this dog now, I could just type out for this dog. Say, see, on my head they pain me. Which medicine I need? How we go just tell me the medicine? Just like that. I don't know what that go hospital. I don't know. Let I even tell you, madam. Now God, now him be everybody. Because all these doctors wey you dey see for them, see them. Now inside these doctors they carry medicine.
Nurse.
Yes, sir.
You have those prescriptions with you, right?
Yes, sir.
All right, please let me give them to those people
Okay, sir.
so that they can get those drugs
Papa,
and start
how are you doing?
Okay.
Sorry.
Papa, Papa, sorry, how are you feeling now? Please give me Papa's prescription. This is it, right?
Yes, sir.
Papa, this is your prescription. You see that first drug on that list. When you get the drug, you are going to be taking it just once in a day. You understand, Papa? No take it to. It's just once in a day. Then that second one on the list, you are also going to take it only twice in a day. That is morning and evening. You understand, Papa? Then the third one, which is the last on that list, you are going to take it 3 times in a day: morning, afternoon, and evening. You understand, Papa? And then after you've taken these drugs for 5 days, and Papa, you go come back to the hospital so that you go cross-examine you again. Make you see as the body go. Thank you, Papa. Thank you,
Thank you.
Papa, see the drug. take am the way it was the way they take am. Yeah, and don't forget that 5 days, make you come back, we will check you again. Yeah, God go heal you, Papa.
Thank you, my king.
Where's you have the test result, right?
Yes, sir.
Mr. Pat,
Yes.
sorry. How are you feeling?
Doctor. This side just dey pain me.
Sorry. Your test result is actually out. And then from the results we can see, it's showing that you are having a kidney disease. Sorry.
Doctor. But wetin cause am now?
It's written here. From the scan we conducted, we saw that it is excessive intake of antibiotics that has damaged your kidney like this.
Doctor, no be lie. But this thing, Panadol, Ibucap, all of the ampicillin, they fit cause this kind of thing.
You don't know?
All
Now
of
those
those
things are
antibiotics.
antibiotics.
Now wetin I dey take with that? Because the kind work wey I dey do, bricklaying work, if we go for morning, come back for evening, body go don sour, and we go back the next day. So now wetin I dey take, make my body dey kakaraka. I no know say e go cause this kind of thing now.
You see, now one of the things wey Dr. Hawa Mohammed dey talk for comivigilance that a lot of people don't know the right thing to do. They are misinformed. Look at what misinformation has cost you. You've abused antibiotics, you've taken excess, and now it has damaged your kidney.
Doctor, all this long talk, wetin be the solution now?
Mr. Pat, the only thing we can do now is to place you on bed rest. Then we can now observe you. Subsequently, we can know the right treatment to give you. Okay. You know, this is our work. We only care. It is God that actually heals. The nurse will escort you to the ward now. Okay. From there, she will tell you the next thing to do. Nurse, please take him to the ward. You know the next thing to do. Yes, and please be back on time, okay?
Okay, sir.
Thank you. Sorry. Give us space, please. Sorry. Madam, what is actually wrong with you?
Doctor, she dey complain of headache, weakness of the body. She can't dey cough, dey sneeze join. She can't go take Panadol, Ampiclox, vitamin C. E no work. Now she can't go buy shake away from one herbal man like that. And she can't take her now she can't further.
This is serious. How are you feeling? Are you having body weakness?
Yes.
You're having body weakness? Catarrh and cough.
I don't wear filter.
Sorry.
Headache.
You're having headache too?
I throat.
Okay. Your throat. Madam, you've been having these symptoms in your body for this long, and you didn't even bother to come to the hospital. You come and get tested. You just stayed at home and was doing self-medication and all of those things. That's a very dangerous thing to do, madam. Sorry. Sorry, madam. You should have gone to the hospital since. We will have tested you and know what is wrong with you. Possibly it wouldn't have gotten this bad. But no worries. Now we've taken your sample and we'll take them to the lab now and run the test. Then we can know what is actually wrong with you. And nurse, please, quickly, take these samples to the lab, conduct the test, and print the results for me. I need to know what is wrong with her very fast. Thank you. And madam, I also heard that you were taking antibiotics alongside herbal concussion. That's a very dangerous thing to do. You will have put yourself at a very delicate state of health. Aside from that, you are at the risk of becoming antibiotic resistant. And researchers have shown and forecasted that antibiotic resistance may kill over 10 million people globally in the year 2050 if this menace is not tackled. Which means that antibiotics may become the next pandemic if care is not taken. Nobody is saying you should not use antibiotics. But there are safety rules you should abide with when using antibiotics. Rule number 1, you are only supposed to use antibiotics based on a doctor's prescription. Secondly,
You have to take antibiotics based on the dosage you've been asked to take in the prescription. Thirdly, which is also very important, you are supposed to report back to your hospital and see the doctor if the symptoms persist after taking antibiotics for the number of days you've been asked to take. Not taking antibiotics for so long, because if you do, you are at risk of getting a kidney or liver problem. Now, my advice is this: if you feel any symptoms at all, other than looking to fake science, myths, social media, or even doing self-medication, go to the hospital, go and get tested, get diagnosed. Then you can know what is actually wrong with you. You cannot be given the right prescription today, and you can live a healthy life. Because you know, as Nigerians, we always have the saying that your health is your wealth.
Make we rise up, stay vigilante, yo. I say that I don't become what is make we rise up, stay vigilante, yo. I say that I don't become, make we rise up, stay vigilante, yo. I say that I don't become, make we rise up, stay vigilante, yo. I say that I don't become.
Okay. Wala check over here.
Ladies and gentlemen, this is a wonderful performance from the theater and communication. Theater and performing arts. Are they there? Theater and performing arts department. Theater for communication. Okay, theater for development. So, ladies and gentlemen, we will put our hands again for theater performance, for their wonderful performance. Before the next session is, before the break, we would like to take the next item on the agenda: grant writing and research methodologies in social sciences and humanities. The resource person, sir. Can we put our hands together for the presenter as he takes his cards? Okay, sir.
Can I go ahead? Okay. Those of you who don't know me, I'm Terry Little, Department of Archaeology and Heritage Studies, and also research coordinator in the Institute for Development Research and Training. And I've been asked to talk about grant writing, and I do that as somebody who has been looking for and raising funds for about 4 decades now. I'm not an academic, if you want. I've been at ABU for the past 5 years. And I come from an institutional background, a private organization background, NGOs. So I come with that sort of perspective, and I believe it can be applied in many cases to education and academic. The first thing I want to talk about is fundraising. So in fact, usually I don't even use the term fundraising. I talk about mobilizing resources. Quite often, we may not even need funds to achieve what we want to achieve. It's a matter of mobilizing the resources to achieve our objectives. And I said fundraising is a market process. And what do I mean by that? Just as we saw the market ladies here exchanging money for goods, fundraising is very much the same thing. There's always an exchange process. Even in bartering, it's the same thing as bartering. There's an exchange process. You're looking for funding, but there's something in return. You're providing knowledge, maybe in most of our cases. You're helping whoever that funder is to achieve their objectives. So fundraising, again, there's always has to be some sort of exchange. Getting funding, maybe what you're giving them is credibility. Maybe you're giving them a sense of feeling good. But there's always something that they're getting in return. It's not just receiving funding. So along those same lines, fundraising is not begging. Whenever we're looking for funds to achieve our projects or objectives, don't think of yourselves as there with a begging hand, just wanting something for yourselves. You're selling something. You have something you're providing to that funding agency. So I please never think of yourselves as a beggar when you're looking for funding. In good times and bad, we know that people give because you meet needs, not because you have needs. Too often when I'm in seminars, you hear people saying, oh, we need money, we need money, we need this, we need that. That's not what a funder wants to hear. They want to know that you are helping to meet needs. I'm going to talk about red flags for funders in your grant proposals. Things that the funder does not want to see or hear from you who are looking for funding. The funder does not want to see that you have not read the directions. And these are always very clear at a funder's website. Could be a small thing, like the requirement to use Times New Roman. or bigger issues like forgetting to include a section on sustainability in your proposal. Read, reread, and follow the instructions. A second red flag, the numbers don't add up. Financial statements and budgets must literally add up to the correct amounts. Double and triple check your math. I do a lot of project reviews, and it's true, one of the first things I look at is the funding, the budget, and make sure those numbers match, and make sure the math has been done correctly. If you haven't paid attention to those simple things, I'm going to wonder if you've paid attention to what are the details in your proposal. Line items in your budget must match the activities outlined in your broader grant proposal. And here too, you just so often you see something careless. Putting in your budget funding for 4 workshops, where in your description maybe you only talk about 3 workshops. So you have to make sure to go back and forth between your narrative and your budget. Third thing that funders should not like to see, outcomes are not clear. And here often I see that outcomes are confused with activities or outputs. Funders care about outcomes, but they're different than activities and outputs. Your activity is a specific thing you're planning to do as a part of your program. An output is the number of times you do that activity, or the number of people it serves. And finally, an outcome, really what your funder is looking for is the broader change that occurs as a direct result of your program activities. So just, in other words, activities are plans, outputs are counts, the outcomes are changes. And many of the speakers we've had this morning have talked about changes. The funding you're looking for is to change a situation. So an example that I give, an activity is running a series of workshops to teach high school students in your district how to do workouts at home. An output would be hosting 6 exercise workshops for 300 students. Those are your counts. The outcome for this program might be that improved physical fitness for 80% of these high school students within a 6-month period. And again, that outcome is what your funder is going to be looking at. A fourth red flag, the proposal is not personalized to the funder. Take care of reusing content from another proposal. And I think we probably all do this, writing proposals. We use a proposal that we've already used for something else. But we have to be sure and customize that proposal to that specific funder. So take time to personalize your proposal to the specific funder and the grant requirements. The more generic your grant proposal reads, the less exciting it will be for the funder. A fifth red flag, your proposal is unrealistic. While we want you to think big, dream big, you have to show that your proposal is realistically achievable within the specified time period. If you're taking a chance on a big idea, make a good case for it by backing it up with research and data to show that it's a smart, calculated risk. And here, a sixth red flag, not checking grammar, spelling, and formatting. Again, you want your proposal to look good. You want it, again, especially here we are in education academia. Spelling, grammar are important. Use a spelling and grammar check tool on your computer. Ask a colleague or a friend to proofread your proposal and make sure it's formatted properly. A few other grant-seeking mistakes, advice from funders and foundations. These are a bit of repetition of what I've already said as red flags. Failing to advance the grant maker's mission. And here you will always find, if you're using the internet to look at those funders, what their mission is. So you have to make sure that your proposal reflects that grant maker's mission. Using too much jargon. I think this is a very common mistake we have in academia, using jargon, using acronyms. If a funder has to look up in Google to understand what you're talking about, you've already lost probably their interest. Another mistake is treating a grant like a gift. Too many charities think of a grant as an outright gift. Here's money, here's a grant of 1 billion naira, $100,000. Here's the money. That is a mistake. In reality, that grant is a contract between you, your institution, and that funder. And you have to respect the terms of that contract. It's not a gift that comes in to your account to use as you wish. Here again, budgets that don't support proposals. So the budget has to be an exact reflection of the narrative of your proposal. So 5 green flags. We've spoken about red flags, things that a funder does not want to see. Here are 5 things, green flags, that a funder likes to see in your grant proposal. The funders, one is that the goals of the funders request for proposals, RFP, there you go, an acronym that maybe not everybody is familiar with. The RFPs align with your grant proposal and organizational goals. Grant seeking is always about need. It's not about your organizational needs, it's about the needs that you're meeting. And the needs that your funder is also looking to meet. So make sure that your grant aligns with the needs that the funder is looking to address. Another thing that funders like to see is that your proposal is tailored to the funder and clearly answers each question. And again, every call for request is going to spell out very clearly what they're looking for. So your proposal must reflect that. Again, be careful about copying and pasting from other proposals. Your grant proposal is internally consistent. Inconsistencies, no matter how small, can be a flag for funders. Something as simple as saying you'll run 3 events, again, an example I used before, saying you'll do 3 events, but in your budget, you're budgeting for 4 events. So your proposal must be internally consistent. I said in red flag, that your proposal is poorly written. Green flag, your proposal is well put together, reads easily, does not cause too many distractions for the funder. The 5th green flag is that your budget is well crafted and clearly defined. Here I thought it'd be useful maybe to just give one example of whatever you're looking for on a website. Again, I'm in the Department of Archaeology and Heritage Studies, so I'm often looking for funding that could address the interests and needs of the department. So if we look at the Leakey Foundation, I'm going to look first of all at the mission. And here, to understand if the mission of the Leakey Foundation addresses the type of needs that I'm looking to address through my proposal. So the mission of the Leakey Foundation is to increase scientific knowledge, education, and public understanding of human origins, evolution, behavior, and survival. The foundation exclusively funds research related to human origins. So it's very clear what type of funding the Leakey Foundation is giving. So before I waste my time or their time, I want to make sure that my proposal addresses their mission. And they give further guidelines. Their current funding proposals or priorities include paleontology, the Pleistocene, Pleistocene, and Pleistocene periods. Another priority is modern hunter-gathering groups, and another priority, primates, including evolution, behavior, morphology, ecology, endocrinology, genetics, and isotype studies. Again, the funder has given me very clear idea of the type of things they're going to fund and what they're not going to fund. And the type of grants they give. So here they spell very clearly. Doctoral students range from $3,000 to $15,000. Senior scientists and postdoctoral students, $25,000. So again, you should ask for more than what the funder is saying they're providing funding for. And they give further information about the type of fellowships that they're funding. Looking at your project proposal, you should think of it as an exercise, of just fulfilling the requirements of the funder. The project proposal is your own planning tool. It helps you work out in broad outline things that need to be done and the methods and resources for doing them. It is at the same time a good marketing tool. It allows you to present your product in a concise and logical manner. Objectives, and here too, I think most of us have had a lot of experience in working on objectives. It is a statement of what the project will do, the conditions under which it will be done, and the standards or criteria that will be reached. Objectives must be verifiable, measurable, and have specific dates of achievement. And here too, we've all heard about SMART objectives. They must be specific, so not using things like a lot, many, far. We have to use numbers. They have to be measurable. They have to be attainable. They have to be relevant. They have to be time-bound. They have to be SMART objectives. I put this slide in about development objectives, and I think I'm just going to skip that. When stating objectives, avoid verbs that are open to many interpretations. So these are verbs like to know, to understand, to really understand, to fully appreciate, to grasp the significance of. These are not useful verbs in writing an objective. Use verbs that suggest specific outcomes or products. To produce, to identify, to sort, to solve. Sorry, I'm having a hard time reading my own slide here. To construct, to build, to document, look up. To train, to create, to produce. These are good verbs to use in your objectives. I'm going to read from here. Avoid verbs that focus on the means rather than the end, and I think this is a common problem. To study is not an objective. To study is a means to achieve an objective. To aid, to assist, to improve, to strengthen. Again, these are not useful verbs for an objective. They're things we do to achieve the objectives. To stimulate, to promote, to coordinate, to develop, to research, to guide, and to discuss. Again, these are things we do to achieve our objectives. They are not objectives in themselves. How much should I ask for? Certainly you don't want to ask for more than what the funder is making available. I gave the example of the Leakey Foundation between $3,000 and $15,000. They're very specific. If you ask for $18,000, most likely they're going to toss your proposal, no matter how good it is, to the trash, because you've not respected very clear guidelines from them. I remember the first time that I asked for funding. I was very nervous about it. And so I asked small, you following the advice of the funder, said, don't ask for something too much. Ask for funding to demonstrate that you are capable of managing those funds. So I think the first grant I ever received was maybe for $5,000. And then from there I've grown. So now I ask for much bigger grants. So how much should you ask for? Pay attention to what the funder is granting. Pay attention to how much you are able to manage, you or your institution are able to manage. I know I've given recommendations when I review proposals. If an organization, if an NGO that maybe has an annual budget of $200,000, ask for a grant of $100,000. I will suggest not to give that grant because they will not have the capacity to manage that amount of funding. So how much should you ask? Look, first of all, what the funding requirements are, and then what you're able to manage. How do I recognize my funding partners? Remember the first that fundraising is a marketing function. There's always an exchange. Often that exchange is for recognition. The funding they're giving you, the support they're giving you, what they want in return is recognition. So how do you recognize your funding partners? And here I give some suggestions. Send to your sponsor, of course, progress reports. This should be obvious and usually required by your funding agency. Provide, of course, final reports, press clippings, photos of the project results, brochures, posters, other promotional materials that you've produced for the project, thank you letters with a personal touch, not just a form thank you letter. Thank you letter, maybe you're the project manager, but get a thank you letter from your VC or from the head of your department. Personalized presents related to the project and of a reasonable amount. This is always your funder usually, they don't want to see that their money is being used to give themselves a gift. So if you give a gift, make sure it's very personalized, make sure that it has meaning for the project. Invitations to opening, closing ceremonies. Always include the name of the funder in your speeches. be polite, build good relations, mention the sponsor in all interviews and contact with media. I always make a point of that. Media is also, for me, it's a similar partnership to fundraising. You're providing them information, you're helping them to do their job, you're helping them to meet their mission of providing information. Whenever I do an interview with a media organization about a project, I'm very specific. I say, please, can you mention the support of U.S. Embassy in your article? You know, if I'm getting a grant for $100,000, that mention in that article is worth $100,000. Get through that type of recognition. Of course, any panels, banners, publications need to have the sponsor name and logo, as well as any other items. Just some examples here. Now, I want to give an example of we do like to promote our activities. In February of this year, the promotion of a certain activity backfired on us. And it's something I think you need to be careful in, perhaps a situation that's particular to Nigeria. We had a signing ceremony for a grant from the U.S. Embassy, U.S. Ambassador's Fund for Cultural Preservation for a project that I'm managing in Super, UNESCO World Heritage Site in Adamawa State. Our Vice Chancellor was there to sign the MOU. The embassy was very careful about saying, please, partners, do not mention the amount of the grant. These people the researchers are going to be working in the field. We want to be very careful about what is known about the amount of funding that they're managing. Unfortunately, the acting ambassador during his speech said, over the years, the U.S. Embassy has given $1.5 million to different cultural projects throughout Nigeria. The Minister for Arts, in her own statement to media, said that the U.S. Embassy was giving $1.5 million to our project, which is over 10 times the amount that the project is receiving. In fact, we had to postpone, we had to call off our first activity in the field because suddenly the community had this information that we had $1.5 million that we would be carrying to the project, which of course is not the case, which we were afraid created a security risk for us. In fact, we had to delay that activity until next month. So again, I think this is perhaps a situation a little bit peculiar to Nigeria, but yes, we want you to say we've achieved success, we've gotten grants, but we do need to be careful about saying how much the grants are for. We have to, unfortunately, be a bit careful about saying when we're going into the field to undertake our activities. Fundraising is very much about partnerships and relationships, and I think that's what this project that we're here for today is also about partnerships and relationships. Donors, and usually, again, I don't like to call them donors, I like to call them funding partners, don't give to institutions. It's not true, the funding comes to institutions. But they're investing in ideas and the people to whom they believe. And here too, I thought later, I would have liked to put a photo of me and my mother in a slide, because I've learned a lot about fundraising from my mother. I'm fortunate to be with her last month. She'll be turning 99 this year. But what I learned from her, more than my father, I was the baby of 7, so I was my mom, she still calls me her baby. So I went with her, traveled with her around a lot, went shopping with her. And she would always be the person talking to the salesperson, talking to the person standing next to her, talking to the person sitting next to her in the bus, starting up a conversation, building relationships. You know, when I was young, I was embarrassed by that. I was like, oh, there she does again. But I've learned over time the value that she brought, that she gave to every relationship. It's what I try to do through fundraising too. Relating to partnerships and relationships, in your career, you earn currency with those in power. Unfortunately, most people focus on building up their performance while forgetting to build up their relationship currency. And what do I mean by that? That we look at our achievements. I've done this, I've achieved that, I've achieved this, I have this degree, I've been to this many conferences, I've produced this many papers. But we forget to invest in our relationship currency. That relationship currency, I think, is what, if I can consider myself a successful fundraiser, it's because I build up that relationship currency. I take time to follow up with people, to communicate with people. And I think I can say it's why I'm here with you. It's through my relationships that I was asked to come and work at this prestigious university. Okay. There's supposed to be one more slide. Okay. I think I will just close with a quote, if I can remember correctly, from Noah Trevor, who has a foundation, the Noah Trevor Foundation, funds a lot of educational activities. And I can't remember the quote exactly, but he talks about generosity, and that we all of us have generosity somewhere within ourselves. And it's through partnership, building relationships, and fundraisers that we want to spark that idea of generosity. So again, I thank you for your generosity and inviting me to be a speaker today. And thank you for, thank you.
Thank you very much for this very nice contribution. We would like to inform the audience that there are two people to speak on research writing and do. This is the first one. The second one will come. Is it immediately or after the break?
After lunch.
After lunch. So, information for members. Please, meal ticket is inside the fire jacket for members and participants. Please check your fire jacket for a meal ticket. It is inside the meal ticket. So as we go for lunch, make sure you carry a meal ticket along and show the restaurant. Yes, sir. So at this juncture, may we now take our leave for break and lunch, and we'll reconvene at what, by 2?
30 minutes. 30 minutes.
So in 30 minutes time, please, we are to reconvene here. As soon as possible. Thank you. Thank everybody for attention and patience. Yes.
Wannan